Welcome to the next installment of the Train Vicar. Today I want to talk about time. Time and railways, time in our lives, and time in God's good plan.
If you watch railway clocks in Israel, like this one, or in Switzerland quite closely, you would notice an odd thing that doesn't happen in normal clocks. Because the second hand moves around the circle slowly, one by second, or very smoothly. And once it's on the 12th, it stops for 2 seconds. And at that point, the minute clock moves on to the next minute. And then the second hand continues its journey round the clock again up to the next minute. Well, this in part is the reason why trains in Switzerland are so punctual, and hopefully to a certain extent in Israel too, because the conductor knows that when the minute hand moves to the appropriate minute, then the train is ready to depart. So the conductor sees that the second hand goes towards the minute, waits until the minute hand changes, and that's when the exact departure will take place.
Well, I've got a Swiss railway watch. Maybe it's more an imitation wristwatch of a Swiss railway clock. So here it is, as you can see. The second hand moves along, but unfortunately with the watch, it doesn't stop on the 12, it just moves through. I hope you can see that. So it continues to move just like a normal second hand and goes through the 12 rather than stopping so that the minute hand then goes on. I hope you saw that. So it's pretty much a normal watch. It does its fairly good quality and continues and a nice design. But otherwise, it just more or less reminds me, I would say, of the good timekeeping of the Swiss railways. And because, well, I'm not the best timekeeper, but I quite like an organized life. So that's something that it reminds me about. And really the continuity and the punctuality of Swiss railways is always something to remember. That's why I've got such a watch.
I think, as we know, timekeeping is really important in railways, that things happen in the right time, not too soon, not too early, but just at the right time. And so that's why in these railway clocks, time seems to stop at least for 2 seconds, so that the right time is reached. Well, I sometimes wonder whether in our life and in God's plan there's not such a right time as well. The time when things are due to happen. Sometimes we may miss that time, but it is there in God's plan. Famously in Greek, there are two words for time: chronos, the continual time that is measured through watches, clocks, the movement of the planets, and so on, and kairos, which is the deep time or the right time or the fulfilled time. And just as the railway clocks stop for a few seconds so that the right time might be reached, maybe we can think about that as well when we think about God's right time, which then results in God's plan being unfolded, maybe just like a railway timetable is being unfolded, but it's, of course, a bit different. But I hope, nevertheless, it may be an analogy that we think about as we look at our watches, as we look at clocks, railway clocks, and as we are reminded about the timeliness of railways, that God also has a time for us in certain places and time for the world.